They called her names, then found themselves on the floor. Maya Delacroix sat in the back corner of Jefferson Heights Academy's chemistry lab, her dark eyes focused intently on the periodic table poster hanging crookedly on the wall. At 15, she possessed an ethereal beauty that should have made her popular, but her silence and withdrawn nature made her an easy target instead. Her long black hair fell like a curtain around her face, hiding the sharp intelligence that flickered behind her gaze. She was tall for her age, nearly 5'8", with a lean frame that most mistook for fragility. What they didn't know was that beneath her oversized sweaters and quiet demeanor lay years of rigorous training in multiple martial arts disciplines. Maya had transferred to Jefferson Heights 3 months ago when her family moved from Montreal. Her father, a former military operative turned private security consultant, had insisted she learn to defend herself from a young age. By 10, she was proficient in Krav Maga. By 12, she had earned her black belt in Taekwondo. By 14, she was competing in underground mixed martial arts tournaments under an assumed name. But here at Jefferson Heights, she was just the weird new girl who barely spoke above a whisper and kept to herself. The chemistry teacher, Mr. Henderson, droned on about molecular structures while Maya traced patterns on her desk with her finger. She could feel eyes on her from across the room. Specifically, she could feel the predatory gaze of Brittany Michaels, the undisputed queen bee of Jefferson Heights. Brittany was everything Maya appeared not to be: loud, confident, surrounded by admirers, and cruel in that particular way that only teenage girls could master. Brittany had claimed the center table in the chemistry lab as her throne, flanked by her 2 faithful lieutenants, Jessica Park, a petite blonde with a vicious tongue, and Samantha Torres, whose family wealth made her feel untouchable. Together, they formed a trio that had made Maya's life miserable since her first day at Jefferson Heights. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. Maya gathered her books slowly, hoping to avoid the gauntlet that awaited her in the hallway. But Brittany was faster. "Hey, creepy Maya," Brittany's voice carried across the emptying classroom. "Still talking to your imaginary friends?" Maya's jaw tightened, but she continued packing her bag. She had learned early that engaging with bullies only made things worse. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "Choose your battles wisely. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all." Jessica giggled maliciously. "I heard she doesn't even have any friends back in Canada. That's why her family had to move here." "No wonder," Samantha chimed in. "Who would want to be friends with someone so weird? She probably smells like maple syrup and sadness." The 3 girls erupted in laughter as Maya slipped past them toward the door. But Brittany wasn't finished. "Wait, Maya." Her voice had taken on a false sweetness that made Maya's skin crawl. "We're just trying to be friendly. You know, help you fit in better." Maya paused at the threshold, her hand gripping the doorframe. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around and demonstrate exactly how well she could fit in, but she forced herself to keep walking. Violence would only create more problems. Her father would be disappointed. The school would punish her. And then she'd have to explain why she, a trained fighter, had beaten up 3 teenage girls. The hallway buzzed with the usual chaos of class changes. Students rushed between lockers, couples held hands by the water fountains, and groups clustered around their respective social hierarchies. Maya navigated through it all like a ghost, invisible and untouchable, or so she thought. "Hey, freak show!" Brittany's voice echoed through the corridor, causing heads to turn. Maya quickened her pace, but it was too late. The 3 girls had surrounded her near the trophy case, creating a barrier between her and her next class. "We were talking to you," Jessica said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "It's rude to walk away when someone's being nice to you." Maya looked around desperately. Other students had begun to gather, sensing drama. But instead of intervening, they formed a loose circle, their phones already out to record whatever was about to happen. This was entertainment to them. "I don't want any trouble," Maya said quietly. her accent barely noticeable but enough for Brittany to pounce on. "Oh, listen to that cute little accent," Brittany cooed mockingly. "Say something else, foreign exchange student. Tell us about igloos and hockey. She's probably here illegally," Samantha added with a smirk. "Daddy should call immigration services." The crowd laughed, and Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. She took a step back, but Jessica moved to block her path. "Where are you going, Maya? We're just getting to know you better." This became the pattern for weeks. Every day brought new humiliations, new confrontations, new reasons for Maya to question why she didn't just fight back. In the cafeteria, they would accidentally bump into her, sending her lunch tray crashing to the floor. In the gymnasium, they would make loud comments about her appearance during volleyball practice. In the library, they would spread rumors about her family, her past, her reasons for moving to America. Through it all, Maya endured. She told herself she was being the bigger person. She reminded herself that her father had taught her that true strength came from restraint, not violence. She convinced herself that eventually they would get bored and move on to easier targets. But she was wrong. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon in November. Maya had been having a particularly difficult day. She'd received a D on her history test despite knowing all the answers, simply because her nervousness had made her handwriting illegible. She'd spilled coffee on her only clean sweater during lunch, and she'd overheard two teachers discussing her adjustment problems in the faculty lounge. She was walking toward her locker, lost in thought, when she noticed the crowd. A larger group than usual had gathered near the main entrance, their excited chatter filling the air. Maya's stomach dropped as she realized they were all looking at something posted on the bulletin board. Pushing through the crowd, she saw it. Someone had created a fake social media profile using her school ID photo. The profile was filled with fabricated posts about being lonely, desperate for friends, and making increasingly embarrassing confessions. Screenshots of the fake profile had been printed out and posted all over the bulletin board under a handmade sign that read, "Maya's Diary of Desperation." The crowd roared with laughter as students read the fake posts aloud. Maya stood frozen, watching her carefully constructed invisibility shatter into a million pieces. Every eye in the hallway was on her now, but not with curiosity or sympathy. They looked at her with the cruel amusement of predators who had found wounded prey. "Oh my God, Maya." Brittany's voice cut through the noise like a blade. She stood at the center of the crowd, holding her phone up to record Maya's reaction. "You didn't have to make a whole fake profile to get attention. We would have talked to you if you'd just asked nicely." The laughter grew louder. Maya felt her vision blur as hot tears threatened to spill down her face. But it was Jessica's next words that finally broke through her resolve. "Maybe if you weren't so weird and foreign, people would actually like you," Jessica said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I guess when your whole family are probably terrorists or drug dealers, normal social skills don't really matter, right?" The laughter stopped. Even some of the cruel teenagers seemed to realize that Jessica had crossed a line, but the damage was done. Maya felt something snap inside her chest, like a wire that had been stretched to its breaking point. For the first time in months, Maya raised her head and looked directly at her tormentors. Brittany was still recording, Jessica was smirking triumphantly, and Samantha was basking in the reflected glory of their performance. None of them noticed the change in Maya's posture, the way her shoulders squared and her breathing deepened. "Take it down," Maya said quietly. "What?" Brittany lowered her phone slightly, surprised to hear Maya speak. "Take down the fake profile. Take down the printouts. Now." The crowd murmured with interest. This was unexpected. The weird, quiet girl was actually speaking up. Brittany laughed, but there was a note of uncertainty in it. "Or what? You'll cry? You'll run to the principal? Face it, Maya. Nobody cares about you enough to—" I said, "Take it down." Maya's voice was still quiet, but there was something in her tone that made several students take a step back. Her father had taught her that the most dangerous fighters were the ones who remained calm under pressure. Maya was very calm now. You know what? Brittany's uncertainty transformed back into cruelty. I think we should make more profiles. Maybe one for each of your imaginary friends back in Canada. What do you think, girls? Jessica and Samantha giggled their agreement, but their laughter sounded forced now. Something about Maya's stillness was unsettling. Maya took a step forward. Last chance. Ooh, scary, Brittany mocked, but she unconsciously took a step back. What are you going to do, foreign girl? Hit me? I'd love to see you try. The words hung in the air like a challenge. The crowd held its breath, sensing that something was about to happen. Maya stood perfectly still for a long moment, her dark eyes fixed on Brittany's face. Then she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who had finally decided to stop holding back. You know what, Brittany? Maya said, her voice carrying clearly through the suddenly quiet hallway. You're right. I think it's time I showed everyone who I really am. Before Brittany could respond, Maya moved. Her years of training took over, muscle memory guiding her actions with fluid precision. She stepped forward and grabbed Brittany's wrist in a grip that looked gentle, but felt like iron. With a simple twist, she disarmed Brittany of her phone and sent it skittering across the floor. What the hell? Brittany started to say, but Maya wasn't finished. In one smooth motion, Maya pivoted and swept Brittany's legs. The popular girl went down hard, landing on her back with a grunt of surprise and pain. The crowd gasped collectively. Jessica rushed forward to help her friend, but Maya was ready. She caught Jessica's wrist as the girl reached for her, applied pressure to a specific nerve point, and watched as Jessica's face went white with pain. A gentle push sent Jessica stumbling backward into the lockers. Samantha, seeing her two friends dispatched so easily, tried to run. Maya let her take 3 steps before moving again. She caught Samantha's arm and used the girl's own momentum to spin her around and pin her against the wall. Don't, Maya said quietly, her face inches from Samantha's. Move. The entire encounter had taken less than 30 seconds. Brittany was still on the ground, clutching her tailbone and looking up at Maya with shock and disbelief. Jessica was leaning against the lockers, cradling her wrist. Samantha was frozen against the wall, afraid to breathe. Maya stepped back and looked around at the crowd of students. Their phones were still recording, but now they were capturing something very different than what they had expected. My name is Maya Delacroix, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the silence. I moved here from Montreal 3 months ago with my family. My father is a security consultant who has worked with military and law enforcement agencies around the world. I have been training in martial arts since I was 6 years old. I have competed in regional tournaments. I have a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo and advanced certifications in Krav Maga and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She paused, letting this information sink in. I chose not to use these skills because I believed that violence was not the answer to bullying. I thought that if I ignored you, if I turned the other cheek, if I took the high road, you would eventually get bored and leave me alone. Maya walked over to the bulletin board and began tearing down the fake profile printouts. I was wrong, she continued. Some people only understand one language. Today, I've decided to become fluent. She turned back to Brittany, who was still sitting on the floor. The fake profile will be deleted by the end of the day. You will never post, print, or share anything about me again. You will not speak to me, about me, or in my general direction. If you have something to say about my family, my background, or my accent, you can say it to my face so I can respond appropriately. Brittany tried to regain some of her composure. You can't just... Maya crouched down so they were at eye level. I can, and I will. The only reason you're still conscious right now is because I chose restraint. Don't mistake my mercy for weakness. She stood up and looked around at the crowd once more. That goes for all of you. I came here hoping to make friends, to fit in, to be part of something positive. Instead, I found a school full of cowards who would rather record someone's humiliation than help them. You want a show? You want entertainment? Find it somewhere else. Maya picked up her backpack and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted before her like water, students pressing themselves against lockers to get out of her way. At the doorway, she paused and looked back. "Oh, and Jessica," she called out. "The nerve cluster I pressed in your wrist will be sore for about an hour. Ice will help with the swelling." Then she was gone, leaving behind a hallway full of stunned teenagers and 3 former bullies who were just beginning to understand that they had been tormenting someone who could have seriously hurt them at any time. Word spread quickly through Jefferson Heights Academy. By the next morning, everyone knew what had happened in the hallway. The video footage, ironically recorded by the same students who had been eager to capture Maya's humiliation, had been shared throughout the school. But instead of showing a weak victim being tormented, it showed a skilled fighter choosing mercy over vengeance. Maya's reputation transformed overnight. Students who had previously ignored her now nodded respectfully in the hallways. Teachers who had dismissed her as a troubled transfer student began to see her in a new light. Even the school administration, after reviewing the security footage and witness statements, decided that Maya had acted in self-defense and showed remarkable restraint given her capabilities. Brittany, Jessica, and Samantha found themselves in an unfamiliar position. Without Maya as a common target, their friendship began to fracture. Other students, emboldened by Maya's example, began standing up to their bullying behavior. The trio that had once ruled through fear and social manipulation discovered that their power had been built on a foundation of cowardice that crumbled the moment someone fought back. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Brittany approached Maya in the library. Maya looked up from her chemistry textbook, her expression neutral but alert. Brittany struggled with words that were foreign to her. "I wanted to apologize for everything. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Maya studied her former tormentor's face, looking for signs of deception or mockery. She found only genuine remorse and embarrassment. "Apology accepted," Maya said simply. "But actions have consequences, Brittany. You spent 3 months trying to break me down because you thought I was weak. You learned I wasn't weak. Now everyone else has learned it too." Brittany nodded, unable to meet Maya's eyes. "I know. I wanted you to know that I realize what I did was wrong." "Good," Maya replied. "That's the first step toward becoming a better person." As winter turned to spring, Maya found herself in a position she had never expected: popular. Not popular in the way Brittany had been, through fear and social manipulation, but genuinely well-liked and respected. Students sought her out for help with self-defense techniques. Teachers appreciated her quiet intelligence and work ethic. Even some of the athletes had begun including her in their conversations about training and competition. Maya had learned something important about herself during those months of torment and the moment of her uprising. She was strong, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. She didn't need to prove her strength through violence, but she also didn't need to accept abuse in the name of peace. On the last day of school, Maya stood in the same hallway where everything had changed. The trophy case reflected her image back